Good evening and welcome to another edition of Friday Night Magpie Live on the eve of what we as supporters consider the biggest game of the season so far. Top of the table, Bromley, the only team in the EFL, our Premier League for that matter, who have not lost on home soil so far this season. 10 wins, two draws from their last 12 league games. Notts County were now third after Swindon's midweek win. 6 wins on the bounce, hoping to make it a magnificent 7. The mind games on the eve of the game have already begun. Andy Woodman, Notts County shouldn't even be in this division. They're much bigger than us. They've got better players than us. In 2 years, they'll be in the Championship. I love the club. Says Andy Woodman, having a loving with Notts County. Don't get carried away by the kidology. Martin Patterson, asked about other teams at the top of the table, says it's not his job to peer over the garden fence at others. One thing at least that Andy Woodman and Martin Patterson do agree on, doesn't matter about the other team, focus on your own business. 594 Notts fans will be there. Maybe one or two of our London and Southern based Magpie fans have managed to get a home ticket or not. It's a complete sellout. So that could well be Bromley's biggest ever attendance, 3 o'clock Saturday. What more have we got on the show tonight? Your thoughts and views on James O'Brien. Doesn't like being called Jimmy. Jim's okay. James, as he said to me today in a message, James is to be used for Sundays formally. But anyway, we'll refer to him as Jim or James, not Jimmy. A great night last night. Thank you to everybody who came along to the navigation for our special question and answer night with Jim. Been speaking with him today. Said he could have stayed another couple of hours and chatted about Notts. Loved every minute of it. Loved catching up with Stell. Tolerated me for a couple of hours. And it was a really great evening. Let us know your thoughts and views. There's some very good stories in there. I'm trying to remember half of them. Jim applied for the Notts job to Roberto Gagliardi in the summer. Didn't hear anything further. Would love to come back to the club one day. Revealed that, spoke of his admiration and huge respect for Luke Williams, and revealed that Luke Williams took a day off work one day, got married, and then came back for training the following day. I think there were plenty of other stories. I mean, I can't remember them all, but he was excellent. Had some very positive feedback. We're now looking for the next event to be in April. Can't give too much away, but we are in discussions with some of Jim's teammates from the Wembley playoff final, among others. More details to follow once we have those firmed down. Thank you, as always, to our official partners, the Trent Navigation, Big Shed and Over the Road, and also to JH Accountants. And thanks for so many of you coming and saying hello tomorrow. King of the Inverters, Wayne Wilkins, and his dad came up to have a chat with me. Wayne, based now in London rather than Barcelona. And we had a bit of banter about Jody Jones, inverted or wide left. We gave Jim the casting vote in our debate. I am orthodox. I think it's fair to say Wayne is not. And no surprises that when we asked Jim to give a casting vote, he went wide left. There you go. Me and Wayne are amateurs. Jim is the professional. Okay, so thoughts and views on tomorrow's game, if you were at the event last night. Let's dive into the message boards. Jonathan Hammocks was first on. Evening, everyone. Hope it was a great night last night. I would love to have come. Unfortunately, public transport and the fact I have to have a specially equipped taxi meant it would have cost me £400. I just couldn't justify it. Is there any film of it? Dan Westwell, who will be known to most of you for taking Notts away photos of crowd and everything, he was there. He's done some video clips, so we will be putting some of those up in the next day or two. You can see all the photos on our Magpie Circle Facebook and also on Dan's Facebook page. It's very similar to how he does them with all the fan shots in the away ends at Notts grounds. Jonathan continues on tomorrow's game. It promises to be a cracker. I can't see why we can't go there and win. I just know Martin will get the boys to leave everything on the pitch. I'll be cheering loud from my man cave. Nigel Bosworth, good evening, everyone. Let's hope that we get the win. Would be truly great. Come on, you pies. Ian Haywood, evening, Paul. Have you seen the team bus and is Jatta on it? I believe not staying about half a mile up the road from me. I've not reconnoitred it. I've let them be. I honestly can't give you an answer as to whether Alessandra is down here on the team bus or not. We're all playing kind of guess the team, aren't we? Big injury doubts. Ollie Norburn, Matt Palmer and Alessandra Jatta. I think it's fair to say that when Martin was asked today about that by Adam, he was fairly economic, I think would be a phrase. Martin, who's normally leaves you in two minds but talks quite a lot about injuries, today clammed up, doesn't want to give anything away. We'll wait and see. We'll have to interpret that how you will. For me, I think Ollie Norburn is almost as important player for us for tomorrow's game as Alessandra Jatta, given that we have got a few injury challenges in midfield. More on team news a little bit later. Bud Chatwin. Evening from Bud. Looks like the way Pato avoided the question of fitness means Jatta will be at least on the bench. So Bud is taking a positive spin on Martin's economy of words when it comes to our injury list. Hope we start well tomorrow and not like the last time at their ground. Were we 2-0 down and we ended up winning 4-2? A bit of a horror show, wasn't it, the first 5 or 10 minutes, if I remember rightly. Evening all from Bale and Ball. A big win for us tomorrow. I can feel it. Tim Watchon, looking forward to tomorrow. Please no 2-goal starts again. Essie Kent, evening all. Well done to Paul and Stell for a fantastic evening last night. Could have listened to Jim all night and loved the hat-trick banter with Stell. Yeah, there was a bit of banter going around about hat-tricks. Obviously, Jim is the proud owner of 2 hat-tricks for Notts County. Stell famously never managed to get a hat-trick during his career with Notts, despite being in the all-time top 10 goal-scoring list for the club. But the riposte to Jim's 2 hat-tricks was they don't count. They were only in the National League, and much banter ensued for the rest of the evening. Richard Elvian, Andy Woodman bigging Notts up, saying they are underdogs despite being top and a 5-point lead. Richard Elvian, any insights on our squad from the training clip? Didn't see Norburn, but Hinchy was there. JJ Aviation, evening, Paul. It'll be a bonus when Jatta is back, but we are strong enough without his absence. Surely we're good enough to get over the line without him. We've plenty of firepower. Evening from Stephen Newton. Ian Cooksey. I hadn't realised that Bromley had scored at least 2 goals in every home game this season. Oh well, all records have to end sometime. And one record, Ian, that we certainly hope ends tomorrow is that in the top 4 English divisions, Bromley are now the only team not to have lost. Sunderland were up until the weekend, were last weekend, had also not lost, but they did lose. So if we can get a result tomorrow and get the 3 points, we will end the last remaining unbeaten home record of the 92 professional football clubs in the 4 top divisions of English football. There's an extra incentive if one be needed. Greza Maxwell, thinking about that, Ian, I don't believe Belshaw has conceded 2 in one game, so that's a good omen, and let's hope it stays that way tomorrow. Hello everyone from Karen Knight. Rosemary Mans, hope last night was a good gig, looking for a 2-1 win for Notts tomorrow. Evening from John Parnham. Here's Debbie Caton. Good evening everyone. Not sure if I'm doubling up on the question, but do you think AJ will be starting tomorrow? Martin Shaw keeps the cards tight to his chest, and rightly so. Let's hope we can score more than 2, says Greza. We do like a 2-1 win. Keeping the opposition guessing when it comes to the team sheet, adds Debbie. Ian Cooksey, Notts have never kept a clean sheet against Bromley. What a time to end that stat. S.E. Kent, Bromley haven't had Belshaw facing them at home at their place yet. Have faith. Pash, great night with JOB last night. Really enjoyed it, and maybe too much when I woke up for work after some beers last night. John Parnham, Martin was very guarded in his answers to Adam when asked about whether Jatta or Turner will be in Palmer, I think, will be in this Saturday. He refused to answer. Is this tactical, not giving things away to opposition teams? Bring on tomorrow, says John Parr. It's going to be a cracker. Magic Boots Agana. I met Magic Boots and Mrs. Magic Boots last night at the event. Delighted to meet you both. Toughest game of the season. Mrs. Magic Boots and myself are ready to lose our voices tomorrow, cheering the lads on. So presumably, is this a Valentine's special occasion, Mr. Magic Boots, that you are treating Mrs. Magic Boots to? Hope it's a cracker with us coming back home with the points in the bag. Ian Cooksey, we have got complete faith in Belshaw and Notts. County Rich, really enjoyed it, but the late start and huge half-time break wasn't great because we were at the back where it was open and it was freezing. Still enjoyed it though. You can't please everybody is one of my favourite sayings. There was plenty of them heaters that you could have sat under and been under that would have kept you warm, County Rich. John Parnham, remember him not telling us that Jody Jones would be on the pitch, and yet he appeared. Adam Kent, great night last night. Jim O'Brien's, I'd forgotten this, impression of Toby jumping around in excitement. As for tomorrow, we need to take the game to them. Martin Blaney, evening, Paul. I am going over to the dark side this weekend and attending the Burnley. I was not going to say the real dark side. It's just the twilight side. And attending the Burnley v Stags FA Cup match, as I have dragged my son Alex, an avid Stags fan, to plenty of Notts games. Evening, Paul, from Luke's dad, Adam Kent. Great night last night. Derek Flowers. At the next event, can you not have the table something? Don't know what that means. Adam Kent, as for Bromley, need to take the game to them. John Parr, Woodman and Pato, both playing the Fergie and Wenger mind games. Indeed, this is kind of a Fergie and Wenger of League Two, isn't it? Dave Hartshaw, evening, Paul and the flock. looking forward to a great weekend ahead. 3 points from Bromley tomorrow. Then my granddaughter Layla comes down from Newcastle for part of half term. Layla is a Magpie fan. Newcastle or not? Probably both, I guess. Bale and Ball. I hope Charlie Palmer got a mention last night. It was his day after all. We started the show, yes, with deference to the Charlie Palmer bank holiday, and you'll be delighted to know that Jim was all genned up. And when I asked him what bank holiday it was, he did say it was Charlie Palmer Day. Knew it was a Mark Draper free kick and a Charlie header bottom corner. Ian McQuillan had a truly great night, Paul, with Jim. We were sat at the back and the sound was spot on. My 14-year-old grandson loved it. Very well organised. See you at the next one. Thank you very much, Ian. Glad you enjoyed. Linden Pie. This is our Lincoln Magpie. Congratulations on a superb evening last night. Any chance you could get Super Lukey Williams to do the next one, although you may have to book out Meadow Lane for that one. Funny you should say that, but there's nothing set in stone yet. Magic Boots Agana, no fear for tomorrow. Pato will have drilled the lads into standing up to all they chuck at us. Super 7 is definitely achievable. Dale Pike, it says Notts have won 6 out of the last 9 away games with 2 draws and the solitary defeat at Chesterfield. Derek Flowers, mark my words, Jatta will play tomorrow. Linda Lou, I will be there at Bromley on Iris and Malcolm's magic bus. Come on, you pies. Royston, evening all, bring on the Battle of Bromley. Dave Hartshorn about Layla, a Notts Magpie fan and season ticket holder. That's great to hear. Ian Cooksey, just been looking at the last time we won 7 on the trot in the league. It was April 2010. The 7th was against Rochdale, and we all know what that result meant. John Parnham, apologies for mixing up Palmer for Turner. At 67, I think that I'm entitled to the odd senior moment. Right, I've caught up with all your messages, so keep firing some more off. So I want to talk a bit about team news, thoughts on selections tomorrow. What are you looking at? If we look at things historically, Martin invariably rewards a winning team, but there are of course some challenges and issues tomorrow, which may or may not mean we see changes. I think we'd all obviously like to see Ollie Norburn. Calf, I believe, which is why he came off a little bit before the end. We've heard very little about that. You know, he's a bit of a warrior, but warrior. Calves can be tricky. Calves, and particularly when you get the other side of 30, and they're not easy to play through. Let's cross our fingers, hope and see. Alassane Jatta, again, Martin, not giving too much away. Think it would be tremendous if we've got him involved for his aerial ability at the back, as well as capability to lead the line. That is, of course, if he was to be preferred to Matty Dennis. It'd be interesting, I guess, as well. Lewis Macari has done extremely well, but you know there's going to be a bombardment. Do you bring Lucas Ness back in? Have the 3 big 6 foot plus centre halves? One possible option is Lewis Macari, right wing back. So that I think there's lots of permutations for Martin, and I do think it's quite interesting that he's decided for this game to play it very guardedly, which he hasn't done. He hasn't really done in previous games, and which I know Martin talks about. It's another to fans. This is a massive game, and he understands that. But he's addressed the players. Everybody on that pitch and on the periphery knows it is just one more game with 3 points at stake, with 16 games to go of the season. But I do think, even Martin, I suspect he knows it's a bigger game. He knows it's an important fixture, indicator of, how far we've come and where we are competing against the other top teams for the automatic places. I think it is interesting that he's decided to, shut up shop a little bit when it comes to injuries, and no problems with that. But I think that kind of tells you that despite what he's talking about there, he and the players know there's added spice on this one. What else have we got? People just asking about the weather. Has it been a monsoon in Kent, as it has been in the NG postcode area today? Came down on the train from Grantham this afternoon. It was raining from Nottingham to Grantham. It was raining from Grantham to London on the train. And it was raining from London to Bromley on the train. And it was raining when I walked from Bromley station to my hotel. And they look like a fair bit of rain down here from the puddles in the road. But I am informed there are no issues, fingers crossed, no issues with the playing surface. I think Bromley are very excited about this fixture as well. They sold out for Swindon a couple of weeks ago. Place was rocking when they played them, and I think they're really looking forward to this one. So I think it's, a lot of the time you can kind of second guess and have a pretty accurate idea of Notts' starting 11. I think there's a lot of permutations and a lot of options, and I suspect that's the way Martin wants it to be, and not give any inside knowledge to Andy Woodman. A few more messages here. I could be wrong, says John Parnham, but if Norburn isn't available, what about starting Lee Undlove? Ian Cooksey, wouldn't be surprised to see Jack Hinchy involved at some point tomorrow. Interesting to see he's been registered in our squad, which was presented to the EFL this week. Spotter's badge, Mr. Cooksey. Yeah, I did notice that. I think there's a pretty good chance Jack Hinchy will be involved in the 17 tomorrow. If Norburn isn't fit, that obviously we haven't got too many out and out central midfielders. Even if Ollie is fit, there has to be, I guess, a bit of a question mark about his capability to last 90. Scott Robertson coming back well, but not necessarily in the groove of 5, 6, 7, 8 regular games under his belt. So wouldn't be at all surprised to see Jack on the bench tomorrow. Essie Kent, how's the weather, Paul? No risk of frozen pitch. No, it's colder, but not seeing anything going sub-zero at the moment. Ian Haywood, I probably just answered this. Is it raining in Bromley? It will suit us if the pitch is not dry. Ian McQuillan, how about a Magpie Circle night with any Aluko? Debbie Caton, it's been snowing in Selston in North Notts. Ian Cooksey, does anyone know how to, I think this could be a joke, does anyone know how to retract eBay bids? I've just bid £10 on a Mickey Mouse outfit, and I'm realised I'm going close to taking over that shower over the river. Andy Easom, seeing Jack Hinchy on the training vid, I think he'll be there or thereabouts. That was from Andy Easom. Keep your thoughts and views coming. I guess we've all kind of listened to Martin's pre-game interview today. I had a little listen of Andy Woodman's as well, and I think he's very good. I think he's very, very good. I don't think he necessarily gets all the credit that he deserves. But I believe I'm right in saying it. He was a good friend, and they went through the Crystal Palace Academy together with Gareth Southgate. And I think I'm right in saying he was Gareth's best man. And if you are very close with Gareth Southgate, you've obviously got something about you. And sometimes I think people see a bit of a caricature of Andy. I think he very astute underneath it all. And yeah, playing games, whatever you want to call it, uber complimentary about Notts. Shouldn't even be in this division. Within 2 years, they can be in the Championship. Better players than us, much bigger club than us. So he's putting it all in. He's putting it all in, but we'll give it a go. Apparently Bromley not lost at home all season, 5 points clear at the top. They are the massive underdogs, according to Andy. The massive underdogs against Notts tomorrow. There you go. There you go. Does Hinchy on the training ground vid mean no Norburn, says Richard Elvin. That's clearly going to be a conspiracy theory between now and 1:45 tomorrow. Bale Ball, Belshaw did concede 2 goals at Bromley back in August. Anyone listen to the Luke Williams interview on BBC Radio Nottingham, says Ian Haywood. I think it was Dave Bracegirdle that got that interview when Stags were playing Peterborough, and he spoke to him after the game. John Parr, echoing my comments with regards Andy's friendship with Gareth. Southgate said he is one of the best minds in football in an interview. Ian Cooksey read the Woody and Nord book. It tells the story of Woodman's and Southgate's friendship. Yes, indeed it does. Magic Boots of Ghana could be an opportunity for Harold to start. Quite impressed with his 45 minutes last week. Pash 2141, a podcast on the Business of Sport YouTube channel has the Bromley chairman on. Good listen, and can see why they are doing well. They also have a higher budget than many might think. Martin Blaney on current form looks a good score draw all day long. Debbie Caton, Valentine's Day, as we all know tomorrow. My giveaway to hubby is a trip to a motorbike shop (brackets browsing) whilst I'm earplugged into the match on Pie's Player. Well, there you go. Enjoy listening, and I hope the motorbike noises, whatever chapter you're going to, don't drown you out too much. Andy Eason will still be popping into Over the Road next Saturday. Is that Tranmere, the return of Charlie Whittaker? That's the plan. We'll confirm it next week. But that is the plan at this moment in time. So we're talking a little bit about there Andy Woodman and his friendship, very close friendship with Gareth Southgate. Done a fantastic job at Bromley. And I suspect there's a lot of mutual admiration between Andy and Martin for what they've both been achieving this season. Don't know whether the time-honoured ritual that used to be at every club years ago, where the two managers would have a drink after the game, will be extended from Andy to Martin tomorrow. Sometimes those kind of things don't happen all the time now, because by the time both managers have done all the media and Notts are getting away on the coach, sometimes they don't have time to do that. There always used to be a thing that the away manager would be invited into the home manager's inner sanctum, red wine, scotch, tequila, vodka, you name it, And in the case of when Jim Smith was around at places like Derby and Oxford, it was a bottle of everything, and you probably didn't get out the room before about 9 o'clock. Those times have changed a little bit these days. Yeah, I meant to pick up on this, and Bud Chapman has just brought it up on the message board. I see the Chesterfield game has been moved to 12:30 for TV. Now, this is causing not problems. It gives clarity to Notts, but there is going to be a grey area about Nottingham Forest, who are also due to be at home on the same day at 3 o'clock against Fulham. Now, that game is still listed for 3. Sky have announced their other games and TNT, and the Forest Fulham is not a TV game. Clearly, the Forest game cannot take place at 3 o'clock. As such, as it stands, Forest would have to move, because I can't see that Sky would then take down their game against Notts or cancel it. So you're in the position where it looks like Forest may well have to move to a Sunday. I think the one imponderable, it will depend. They might have to move to a Sunday anyway, because if Forest get through in the next round, against Fenerbahce in the Europa League, because whenever there's a Thursday Europa League game, clearly Forest can't play a fixture on the Saturday. But it will be interesting to see what happens. I think, as I've said to you before, no one seems to say too much about it from either club, but the gentleman's agreement, whereby when the two clubs are drawn at home on the same day, it's always previously been the case up till 18 months ago, that the clubs would take it alternate turns. So Notts would move, then the next time it would be Forest. Forest don't do that anymore. They stick out to play all their games on the dates that are scheduled, and Notts therefore then have to move. So this could be quite interesting, quite interesting as to what happens there. I want to say Notts were at home early kickoff this year. Were Forest playing 6 or 7 o'clock kickoff earlier this year on the same day? I want to say that, but I don't know whether I imagined it. But yeah, as it stands, as I understand this, Forest are going to have to move to either a Friday night or to the Sunday. Notts, as a result of Sky TV choosing our game, now have precedence. And what's interesting here is, for all the flack that Sky take from lots of football fans for moving fixtures, they may well have done us a favour here, because if they'd not chosen that game and Forest weren't in the Europa League, we'd have been moving anyway. We would have been moving. So Sky on this occasion may have done us a favour. Yeah, Debbie Caton picks up. Yeah, Forest are at home that day too. Yeah, 3 o'clock Fulham. Ian Cooksey's strange one, that being as Forest are still scheduled to be at home on that day. It is it not a Europe night on the Thursday before? Yes, John Parr, but I think that's the next, as I understand it, it's the next round. So Forest would have to get through against Fenerbahce. John Parr. Whoops, hang on, a few more coming in. Ian Cooksey, the last time was when we had to play Wimbledon at 8 p.m. Saturday night. They played in the afternoon. That's right. So that was the playoff, wasn't it? Because I got it the wrong way round. Forest played earlier in the day. We played Wimbledon, the playoff game, yeah, at the end of last season. But Chatwin, in days gone by, the fixtures for Notts and Forest were never on the same day, usually alternate weeks. Yeah, I mean, that kind of precedent has long since disappeared. And it does seem now more and more seasons, more and more clash of fixtures, which I've no idea why the league and the EFL allow that to happen, because clearly the police are adamant, and understandably so, Notts and Forest can't kick off on the same day, unless there's exceptional circumstances like a lunchtime and an evening kickoff. Lippy Jane, I'm going to watch Luke Williams tomorrow at Bradford in the dugout with even more kudos after Jim's tales last night. Yeah, Jim was hugely complimentary about everything that Luke Williams had done. Some of the mind games and scenarios. What was one of them? Was it about if you crash land on a desert island, what is the first thing you do? Answers please. Ian Cooksey. Hopefully they will be back in the Football League next season, so it will get sorted out. I think he's talking about Nottingham Forest. Any news on Grant? S.E. Kent asks. No, I know very little about that one. Right, what else have we got just coming in there? Oh, right, okay, let's just pick back from that. So Chesterfield 12:30. Sky may well have done us a favour to keep it on a Saturday. Martin today. Again, humble, humility, playing it down, and I think that's good. He's a man who, for me, is not going to get carried away. Yes, he's committed. Yes, you get those death stares from him aimed in your direction, but he's keeping everybody grounded, isn't he? As fans, we all get a bit carried away, but he's keeping everybody grounded. And I would dearly like at least one of Norburn or Jatta to play tomorrow. I personally think without both of those, I think that's a really big ask for us. With one of those, I think we'll be fine. But yeah, these are the games you want to be involved in. You might argue it's a bit of an indictment on Notts County over the last 10, 15 years that we're bigging up a game against Bromley. Actually, no disrespect to Bromley at all. That we're bigging up again with Bromley as one of Notts' biggest fixtures for years. But it's the two informed teams in League Two. And yeah, it's a big day out. 594 of us in a sellout Bromley Stadium. I'm sure that we will all be loud and proud. S.E. Kent. What about Robbo and Norburn together? I'm trying to plan my fan hub team. But Chatwin, Jacob Badeau talked very well on camera as usual. He's still deep down inside, not happy with AJ claiming his goal. Which game do we have a game in hand with? Asked Debbie Caton. That's Swindon. Of course, they won in midweek, as did Cambridge again. I mean, Cambridge are flying as well at the moment, aren't they? So that's why we're third. Swindon second. I think it's about 8 or 9 points if you're being a tad pessimistic, or safety first, trying to ring fence the net for the playoffs down to the team in 8th. So we've got a decent cushion there, but I think everything is focused on automatics this season. That's where we want to be, while at the same time Martin very much is 90 minutes, doesn't matter whether it's Bromley, bottom of the table, Harrogate, do our jobs, which I think is a very practical approach to the league. I'm just trying to think of a few more things from Jim O'Brien last night, because there were so many good ones that he was talking about. I thought one person in the audience who's not necessarily a big Notts fan, but came along with a partner, and she made a very perceptive comment. She said, he cares. You can see he cares. And I think that passion, that understanding, that desire shone through last night. And I think it's one of the reasons why Jim was such a popular player with the club. He's got the unique title of being the only player to have been relegated out of the league with Notts and promoted back into it. But the way he talked about Notts, his other clubs, the way he talked about his own performances, you could see there was a man there that genuinely cared, got what it meant to be a supporter of a football club, and I think appreciates and appreciated every moment of his footballing career. And one of the many stories he told last night, you'll remember the playoff final will be remembered for as much as anything as the penalty shootout. Jim was on the bench that day. He said very early on, John Bostock held us together. John Bostock was man of the match. So it was always going to be a challenge for him to get onto the pitch. Now, the final league game was at, I always get confused between these. It was Maidstone. He got a hat-trick. He got dropped for the Boreham Wood semi-final, as you do after scoring a hat-trick. He was on the bench for the Wembley final. A lot of practicing had been done for penalties. And Jim had been involved in those penalties as well. And when they were practicing the penalties in the countdown to Wembley, Jim missed three penalties. Tom Wheel was kind of orchestrating the penalty shootout. And as they were going down into the closing minutes and trying to organise it all, Tom said to Jim, as a senior pro, do you fancy a penalty? And in that moment, Jim had to weigh up what to do, because if he'd said yes, he gets on the pitch at Wembley. And he said, at 35, I knew it was probably the last time I would ever get on the pitch at Wembley. First time at Wembley. Only time at Wembley. He said, I thought about it. And he said, clearly that was a temptation for me. He said, I've missed 3 penalties. He said, I wasn't feeling it. So he said, no, count me out. On that basis, he's ruled himself out of getting out onto the pitch at Wembley, which I thought was a very interesting story and a very revealing story about his character and the camaraderie and the team spirit. The rest, as they say, is history with that penalty shootout, Archie Mair, and then, preordained that Kedwin and Redemption and Notts County into the Football League. Debbie Caton, why on earth wasn't Jim kept on? Surely there's an opening for him re-coaching. Age ? Not desire. Yeah, that's a good comment, Debbie. And Jim did address that, and he said that if you remember, Stuart Maynard had taken over after Luke Williams had left. Jim had the one-game caretaker charge, and 2 to 3 months before the end of the season, there were some informal discussions, which it was indicated to Jim that there would be a contract for in the following season. Not into specifics, possibly coaching, playing, player coach, that kind of role. And clearly Jim would have been delighted to extend his stay at the football club. Then it gets to the end of the season. Notts kind of finished with a whimper rather than a roar, if you remember rightly at that time. Dropped down the table, mid-table. And you have the day of the long knives, when players are called in for an appointment and they're told whether they are being retained or whether they are being released. Jim told the story. He was called in. Obviously, he's thinking back to the contract discussions or the discussion about a new contract that had taken place 3 months earlier. Stuart Maynard explained to him that the club were now looking to go in a different direction and he was to be released, which obviously was a big blow to Jim. Not necessarily one he had expected, difficult to take. And it was a fairly brief meeting. Jim kept his cool, left, and ultimately exercised the development of his coaching badges and the part-time role he'd had coaching the youngsters at Sheffield United, and certainly as far as I'm concerned, Sheffield United's coaching loss has been Notts County's coaching loss has been Sheffield United's gain. And there is, I can say it, Jim can't, there is a school of thought here that Stuart and his coaching staff had very limited Football League playing experience. In Jim O'Brien, you had a man with over 500 professional Football League and Scottish Football League appearances. Sometimes that can be a little intimidating, shall we say. As I said, I can say that. Jim obviously can't. But if that answers your question, Debbie, that was kind of what Jim dealt with very professionally, very fairly, and I think very respectfully. And I think it's also been very good. I've been looking around on the old social media today. And with Dan's posted all the photos of everybody there, so take a look, see if you can see your photo. And what I think is important when we have those kind of events is that clearly you as supporters want to, if you like, peer behind the curtain, see the real, what really goes on, as much as we can be reasonably shared, and for the players to be as transparent, as honest as possible. Equally, our supporters, when they're there, I think it's cognizant of them to be respectful and not sensationalize any of the comments and get these things taken out of context. And everyone today that was there's over 300 of you, I think, have been very fair and very respectful, not sounded off about so and so said this, so and so said that. Everyone was happy, everyone enjoyed the evening, and hopefully it gives you a broader, respectful insight into what goes on behind the scenes at Notts County. And Jim was able to share, banter, anecdotes and stories. And there are an awful lot of stories that I didn't know. And, it may be I know a little bit more about what goes on at Notts County than a lot of the Notts fan base. And, there are a lot of them that were new to me, I promise you, and to Stell, and to Stell for that matter. Magic Boots at Ghana. Paul, I think Pato gains respect from the lads akin to Luke Williams. Different methods, but a similar response. Debbie Caton, I could see him fitting in well now with Martin's way. Thank you for your answer. Right, we're coming up to we're just done over 45 minutes. I'm not quite sure what else I'm going to do in Bromley this evening. I'll probably have a sleep. I was one of the last to leave the navvy. Me, my lad Harry, Stell, Jez Donovan, Binghamtown veteran, and a few others. I think we were still there about 11ish. So I'm not normally I'm not a morning person. I'm not a great late night person. So it's took it out of me. So I'm going. I shall probably just go to sleep. Thank you one and all for listening in again tonight. Seems like 5 games in 14 days for the players, and what with the gym event and others, it feels like this is a full-time job. In theory, I thought I'd retired about 4 years ago. We've got about half a dozen of the Jimmy limited edition t-shirts left. Drop me a note if you want one. Medium and large, I think, are the sizes we have left. We'll look to try and clear the last of those out in the next few days. Thank you. I think I should just say thank you to Jim again. He stayed behind and did all the photos, selfies that you wanted, including with the 2 Mutleys, the 2 Magpie Circle mascots, King Louis, the Brussels Griffon, and Dave the Pug. You probably heard them in the first half barking their appreciation. So a good night was had by all. Ian Cook said, I think if that happened, this is talking to, people sensationalizing. If that happened, you would probably struggle to attract speakers in the future. So well done to the fans. Exactly, Ian. That's exactly the point you've said. You've put it far better than I could have done. S.E. Kent, I hope if Kyle Cameron appears tomorrow, he has been injured apparently, we give him the respect as we did when he was our captain. He didn't want to go either. Look, Kyle Cameron was an excellent servant to the football club. Yvonne Biddle. The dogs are both fast asleep now. They have their own little place on a settee, when they watch the Magpie Circle and they watch the Notts games on the big screen. And obviously I've sent them to sleep. Debbie Caton, great show. Early finish for me Friday. Have a great day, everyone, tomorrow, you pies. Yvonne Biddle says, it was the king barking. Dave was nice and quiet. Well, we had a nice photo, didn't we, with Jim holding up Dave and you guys holding up the king. Great show last night, says Greza Maxwell. Thank you, Greza. As always, thank you for your support. One of our VIP partners, Greza Maxwell Flooring. They've seen his little advert on the back of the program. All flooring requirements. Have a word with Greza. His phone number was on the back of the program. Okay, right, that really is time to go. Thank you so much, one and all, for listening. We'll be back with a vlog tomorrow. And we will be back on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, and we will be back again on Monday evening at 7 o'clock with myself and Stell, and then we're heading off to Shrewsbury, and then we'll do another show Wednesday night reviewing Shrewsbury. We'll have a day off next Thursday, and we'll be back on Friday ahead of the home game with, I think it's Tranmere. Does that take care of the next week for everyone? Essie Kent says, we were sat behind the King and Dave last night. Adam Kent, Jim saying if you put the puppy down was akin to dropping Sam Austin was hilarious. That was another story talking about how he managed in his one game in charge the delicate situation of dropping Sam Austin. And Sam was a tad crestfallen, shall we say. Essie Kent says, gorgeous dogs. Yeah, we're always good to see them. Yeah, we like to see our show mascots in fine form. Thank you, one and all, then. Thank you to our official partners, the Big Shed at the Trent Navigation and Over the Road, and also to JH Accountants. Back with the vlog tomorrow. See you all Sunday, by which time we hope Notts County have ended the longest home unbeaten run and the only unbeaten home run of this season when we are at Bromley. I'm one of the 594. Look forward to seeing you all at Bromley tomorrow. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.